Hey guys, my name is Rob, and today we're reviewing the GameSir Nova 2 Lite. This is a wireless controller compatible with PC and mobile, and is very similar to the recently released Supernova, at least in terms of design and form. But there are several differences between the two, both in terms of features and function. As indicated by the name, the Lite is a bit more bare bones, and that's also reflected in the price, as this is a super budget controller at $29.99. I'm excited to see how it compares to both the Supernova and other budget controllers, so let's open it up and check it out. There's very little in terms of packaging, which is common with budget level controllers, but that said, it's well protected in the box because it comes in this really unique case. This is a form-fit hard shell case, which is cool, but that said, it's really only made for this controller. We also have an accessories box, which just has a couple of items. First, we have a USB-A to USB-C cable, and this is a shorter cable and not braided, so really just meant for charging. Then we have a GameSir pamphlet with their socials and contact info, and we have a fold-out manual with tiny print and a dozen languages. I'm still kind of hoping someday GameSir will change how they do these, but we'll see. Inside the case, under the gamepad, we have the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and it does have a specific spot here to store it, which is nice. As far as the controller itself, it feels good, but it's a little light for my preferences, coming in at 235 grams, so about 10% lighter than the Supernova. I feel like I've been kind of flooded with white controllers lately, but I think the white and gray with orange accents looks pretty clean. Looking at features, the Nova 2 Lite has membrane face buttons that feel just okay. They have a little bit more travel than I would like, and they're pretty squishy, and in general, I would just prefer mechanical buttons. The D-pad is mechanical and feels pretty good. I know not everyone agrees, but I prefer mechanical D-pads, as well as the circular 8-way pads like this, so not bad at all. The sticks are Hall effect, which is fine. GameSir has moved to TMR sticks for most of their more premium models, such as the upcoming G7 Pro, but I wouldn't necessarily expect to see TMRs in a $30 controller, and also GameSir has typically done a really good job with HE sticks, so I have no concerns about that. We also have anti-friction rings, so they glide nice and smooth, and the tension is very similar to typical GameSir HE sticks, so a little less than I would like, but not bad. Other front inputs include the home button, the menu button, the view button, the capture or screenshot button, and the M button, which is essentially a function button. Then on top we have the shoulder buttons, which are mechanical and feel good as far as the input goes, and I don't mind the squarish shape or design, but they are very slick and smooth, and I wish we had some texture on these. Same goes for the triggers, they have no texture or stippling at all, so very smooth, but I do like the shape of the triggers. I prefer the wide Switch Pro style triggers compared to the Xbox style ones. They're also cushioned a bit, meaning there's no plastic hitting plastic sound or feel, so that's great. We also have trigger stops, and these are exactly like the ones on the Supernova. They're just physical stops, not micro switch or mouse click stops, so not the best, but at least they're there, and they do feel tight and solid, so not bad for what they are. We have two back buttons, which are also just like those on the Supernova, and I actually like this design a lot. I think these rear buttons feel and function better than those on the G7 line. Not that those are bad, I just like these more. They feel good and sound fine, and unlike the shoulders and triggers, they do have just a little bit of texturing, so very happy with these. We also have a reset hole in the back, as well as the pins for a charging stand, which obviously the Nova 2 Lite didn't come with, but predictably it is compatible with the Supernova stand. The LED lighting on the stand syncs up with the controller, just like it does with the Supernova, and the auto sleep wake function works as well. Since I already pulled out the Supernova to check this, I also wanted to see if it will fit in the Nova 2 Lite case. And technically it will, the case will snap shut, but it's really tight. I don't see any visible damage or anything, but it's definitely catching on the rubberized grips of the Supernova, so I don't know that I would necessarily recommend doing this. Next we'll take a look at settings, starting with mode switching. The Nova 2 Lite will be in X input mode or Xbox mode by default, and you can check what connection mode you're in by pressing and holding the M button. The home button will illuminate green when in X input mode. You can change modes by holding menu and view for 3 seconds, and the first time you do this, the controller light will change to red, which means the gamepad is in switch mode. Then if you repeat this process, the light will change to blue for D input, and if you repeat the process again, it will be back in X input mode. So it just cycles between the three. Again, this is all in wired or 2.4 gigahertz wireless mode, but you can also change from dongle wireless to Bluetooth wireless by pressing different button combinations. Holding home and B for 2 seconds will change to D input Bluetooth mode. Home and Y changes to switch Bluetooth mode. Home and A swaps to Android Bluetooth mode, and home and right shoulder button changes to Android G-Touch mode. Then holding home plus X for 2 seconds will change back to dongle mode. Moving on, we'll look at all the uses of the M or function button. You can program the back buttons by holding M and pressing one of the back buttons, then press the button you want to assign there, and then press that same back button again. You can unassign either back button by holding M and pressing that button, and then just press it again without making any other inputs. Holding M plus L3 or R3 will swap that stick to 0 dead zone mode, and this is independent for each stick. Holding M plus that stick again will swap back to the default stick dead zone or whatever dead zone you have set in the app. Next we have Turbo, which you can set for the face buttons, triggers, and bumpers. While holding the M button, press one of these inputs and the indicator light will flash red. When Turbo is on, the light will flash anytime you're holding that button. You can disable Turbo by repeating this process for that specific button, or you can disable all Turbo settings by double-clicking the M button. Unlike many gamepads, there are no options for customizing Turbo settings such as speed or mode, it's just on or off. When the trigger stops are disabled, you can enable hair trigger mode by holding M plus either trigger for 2 seconds. So this means you have full travel of the trigger, but it acts as an on-off, so any input of the trigger will register as full input, and the indicator light will dim anytime you press a trigger with this feature enabled. You can also adjust vibration intensity by holding M and pressing Menu or View to increase or decrease vibration respectively. Next, you can't physically swap the face buttons like you can on the Super Nova, but you can change the registered inputs to switch layout, meaning A will register as B, X will register as Y, and vice versa, by holding M plus A for 3 seconds. The controller vibrates to confirm this change, and you can swap back by repeating the process. And then lastly, you can recalibrate the Nova 2 Lite by simultaneously holding Menu, View, and Home. The home light will flash slowly to indicate you're in calibration mode. As with most gamepads, you'll then slowly rotate both sticks 3 to 4 times. Fully depress both triggers 3 to 4 times. And then press A to save calibration. That covers all of the on-the-fly customization, but there is quite a bit more you can do in the GameSir Mobile app, which we'll look at now. This is the GameSir Mobile app, and specifically I'm running it on an iPad mini. In my opinion, one of the bigger downsides of the Nova 2 Lite is that this is the only app it's compatible with. It doesn't work with the GameSir Nexus or Connect PC apps. That said, there is quite a bit you can do here. The first option is the upgrade tool, which I did utilize during this recording, but I'm going to go ahead and speed this up because it did take a few minutes. Then we have a controller tester screen, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can test all of the inputs on the controller. Next is button settings, and at the top you can change the layout, and this is exactly the same as performing the layout swap on the fly, so you can manually change between Xbox and Switch layouts. Below that is button assignment, but unfortunately you can only assign the rear buttons, so no other options to change the other inputs on the controller, and you can only assign controller inputs, so no keyboard mapping. Then we've got joystick settings, which does have a little bit more than the other pages, but still pretty bare bones. You can adjust the dead zones, change between circular and rectangular algorithms, and you can also lock the D-pad to 4-way, and you can swap the left stick and D-pad. Next we have trigger settings, which are limited to changing the range and enabling or disabling the hair trigger mode, but really what else do you need for triggers? And then lastly we have vibration settings, where you can adjust the vibration of the left and right motors separately by using the bottom sliders, or together by using the top slider. And that's it for the app. Again, this offers a bit less customization than we see in most GameSir PC and console controllers. It's pretty much just the basics. Now we'll jump into testing, starting with polling rate, and we're doing wired first. Advertised rate is 1000 Hz, and it's pretty close at 970, but I am going to run it again. And still about the same, so just a little under 1000. We'll check wireless as well, and it's actually a bit better at 991, and jitter is actually lower than wired. I ran both several times after this, and I tried different cables, and consistently the numbers were a little bit better wireless, which is kind of weird but not concerning. I also checked the stick resolution using Stick Analyzer, and this actually did surprise me a bit. I'm pretty confident that literally every GameSir controller I've tested with HE sticks has been right around the standard 128-point resolution, and that includes the Super Nova, but the Nova 2 Lite is coming in at 372, and I also tested this multiple times on both sticks and got right around this number each time. Lastly, we'll take a look at Gamepad Tester, and as you can see, the sticks are set to 0 dead zone. They're not bouncing back to a consistent perfect resting point, which basically can't or doesn't happen at true 0 dead zone. but these numbers are very small and I have no noticeable drift in game. As far as the circularity, I did set the right stick to circular, but kept the left stick on raw input, just so we could see both. And the rectangular input is not great, kinda odd shading, not super consistent in each direction, and this is after recalibrating several times. The right stick does look even, but it's also not a true circular algorithm as you can see, so just like the resolution numbers, this is a little abnormal in comparison to typical GameSir HE sticks. So conclusions. The Nova 2 Lite is pretty much what it's supposed to be, meaning it's a very affordable pro-style controller. It's definitely not my favorite GameSir controller I've tested, both in terms of features and performance, but for $30, I didn't really expect it to be. Just like the Supernova, I do like the overall ergonomics of the Nova 2 Lite, though noticeably less so than the Supernova, just due to the lack of rubberized grips. That said, the grips aren't bad, I like that they're textured, and also it's not a super aggressive texturing, which has bothered me on some controllers in the past. I don't really care about the RGB lighting on the Supernova, and I only really ever play wired, so I honestly would rather have the case that comes with the Nova 2 Lite than the charging dock that's included with the Supernova. The bigger difference between the two, and one of the reasons that I would have to say that I would stick with the Supernova if I could only keep one of these, is the software customization. Don't get me wrong, the mobile GameSir app is much better than no app support at all, which is a common thing you see with budget controllers, but the extra customization options in the PC app on the Supernova really widens the gap between these two controllers, at least for me. If you don't utilize things like response curve adjustment, keyboard mapping, remapping of face buttons, etc., or if you're looking for a controller specifically to use for mobile gaming, then the Nova 2 Lite might be a better option for you, especially considering the $20 price difference. If you are considering this gamepad, I would recommend checking out Amazon like right now, as it's currently on Prime Day sale for $23.99, but that ends on Friday the 11th. At that price, it would be pretty hard to argue that the Nova 2 Lite isn't a good value. I hope this video helped you out, and if so, please subscribe if you haven't already. Likes are also appreciated, and I do try to react and respond to as many comments as possible. I'll be doing more reviews regularly, so I hope to see you back here again soon. Thanks for watching!